It is silly. We got some Casey tracks.
Yeah. I listened to them on the way home last night.
Welcome to the Folk Hogan podcast.
We did it. Here we are.
We are here.
You like them tasty jams? That's our bass player Casey. That's his other band, Lamanites.
The Casey Jackson 1.
Yeah. I hope we're not
I don't know.
spoiling it.
I don't know. It's probably an unreleased track.
Yeah, it doesn't have vocals on it yet, probably. Chips, how are you?
I'm good.
Yeah?
We're tired.
We are tired today.
We're tired.
Working hard lately. Better than hardly working, I suppose.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
Well, that's too damn bad. That's
a classic.
That's a common Folk Hogan quote.
What a bunch of complainers.
Right?
What a bunch of complainers.
Cameron's rubbing off on all of us.
Oh, my God.
That nerd.
As we've been doing a lot of things lately.
Yeah.
And so it's like very apparent when we're doing a lot of things how much Cameron complains about everything.
Yeah.
Because we're like constantly in this feedback loop of like, oh, we're making this thing and we're releasing an album, we're doing this thing and we're doing this thing and then we're gonna go play a gig and then we're booking some more gigs and then and that boy.
Yeah. He's gotten better too.
Yeah.
Yeah. When he first joined the band when he was like 21, he had no life experience. It was pretty hilarious watching him adjust to the musician lifestyle. Yeah. So.
Well, he used to work with this heroin addict that would just like not do anything. And I think Cameron just thought that was normal.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have bones.
Yeah.
Or no, he doesn't have muscles. He's
muscle.
all bone.
He lifts everything with bones.
The boy's all bone.
Poor kid. Why use it? Maybe he's got a point. Maybe he knows something we don't.
Jared, our old bass player, and him went to the gym once, and Jared was giving him all kinds of shit because, like, he just, when it comes to arm strength or moving things, he's just like,
he got nothing but then
legs.
Legs, yeah.
Because he can get on a bicycle and go ride, 30 miles in a day.
Yeah, no problem. He's got strong legs.
But then he'll be tired, and he will tell us about how tired he is.
All the time.
He used to ride every Sunday, and then we would have band practice Sunday evening. So every Sunday, everybody came in for like 2 years straight. He would just be like, "Oh, I'm so tired.
I went on a bike ride today." What a nerd.
And it was like Groundhog's Day.
Yep.
Like he just kept.
He's a good boy.
He's so good.
So today we're gonna have
such a character.
Odd conversation, a fun conversation, really, a historical and current conversation about merch.
Oh man,
everybody's favorite thing.
What was like the first?
Everyone that's been a fan of us at any point has absolutely noticed that we tend to go overboard on merch and have a lot of cool stuff. And that's been like such an evolution over the years. I think the very first thing we had was bottle caps.
Yep.
I had drawn a page of like tiny drawings in these little 1-inch circles of all sorts of different things and just wrote Hulk Hogan in them. And collected bottle caps, put them in the bottle caps, and then put like epoxy over top of them and put a magnet on the back. And at our first show as a full band at Woodshed on April 10th of 2011, that was the only merch we had, was those bottle caps. And we had those for a while.
We sold $73 worth of them at that show.
And
or something.
Yeah. And
maybe that was our take from the door and the bottle caps.
Yeah. Well, the show itself was a fundraiser for our dear old friend Ashley Shaw for her dad. And it was, I want to say it was like a Monday or a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
And she made a post on Facebook that she wanted to do a fundraiser for her dad and needed bands, and I was like, hey, we'll do it.
We're a band.
And we showed up and did it. And it was silly. Wonderful. And yeah, the bottle caps were the very first thing. I only made those for a little while. I actually recently was going through some old stuff, and I found a photocopied page of that page of like 100 drawings that I did for all the buttons.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll have to bring those back.
Yeah, I've got a copy of it on drive somewhere too.
Hell yeah. Well, maybe we should do those for the album release show. Kick it back old school. See all this silly stuff. And then, so what was your experience with your previous bands when it came to merch? Because like most of my previous bands, either like we made shirts that were not particularly great, or when I was in Devil's Country, they had like the standard, like the black t-shirt, and then they had the Jack Daniels logo, but instead of saying Jack Daniels, it said Devil's Country. And
those were nice.
They were great. I still have one.
Who printed them?
I haven't the slightest idea. Not the slightest idea. That happened before I joined that band.
Oh.
But when I joined the band, like we kept going to shows and they kept being like, oh, we forgot to bring the merch.
That's right.
And I would always just be like, how did you forget to bring the merch? And I remember we did a show at Burt's where I reminded them, like, we have to bring the shirts, and they brought the shirts, and we sold like $120 in shirts, and everyone was over the moon. And it was like, we could be doing this every show.
You could bring these with you.
Yeah.
It's one. You're already bringing everything else. It's just one more bin.
Yeah. So, but what? I know Die Panda Die had some silly things for merch, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. We, at one point, 3 of the 4 of us all worked at Savers in Orem, the thrift store, Value Village in other regions. And so two of the creatives that were in that band would do stencil graffiti art. And so we started spray painting these 2 layered shirts. And so our shirts used to just be that we would get a bunch of shirts from the thrift store and repurpose them, and then we would just make them and give them away or charge like $1 or $2.
Yeah.
And we did that, and we made CDs, and we would just burn them. And I literally wore out multiple CD drives burning albums, because I burned something like 2,000 or 3,000 CDs during the course of that band, so that we could just give them out at shows for free.
Yeah.
And we would just take a stack with them when we were handing out flyers, and we would just like give someone a CD and a flyer.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's kind of fun to think back about those times of doing that very in-person promotion.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's easier now to put a flyer on the internet And some people will even say like, yeah, we don't even print posters. Why would we, when it's so much faster and less expensive and everything? But that extra effort used to make it so that it was really easy to stand out in the market.
Yeah.
If you were willing to like get out there and do that. A lot of bands had street teams for this reason too.
Yeah.
So you could hand somebody a CD and the chances they were going to take that and listen to it are pretty high.
Yeah.
Versus like now, if somebody handed you a QR code or something and you're like, scan this and then go to this place and then listen to this. Like the chances of you just like, it's just junk mail. It's just crap that you throw away. There's a certain amount of like tangible effort that went into that.
Yeah. Someone gave me a CD recently and I had to really think about like, where can I play a CD? Like I know I have a CD player. Where is it? It's, things done changed.
It's very changed.
So,
we make a lot of shirts, and then we got into actually printing our own shirts.
Yeah.
And having them made. And at the time, my father worked at a university, and he was able to go through their Haynes contract that they were doing like $100,000 a year plus in business and getting the lowest pricing. It's like when you look at the schedule of like, okay, if you order one, it costs this many, but if you order 144, it's the lowest column pricing. Like you get that rate. Well, their deal was they would get that lowest rate on even like one-off orders.
Yeah.
So I would go through and pick out the color of shirts that I wanted and order them. And at that time, I could get dark. Dark fabric is always more expensive than white. I could get dark colors, like black t-shirts essentially as the concert tee, for $1.22 a piece.
Oh, that's such a good price.
Yeah. And then we would silk screen them ourselves. And, $10 worth of like silk screening ink and a homemade silk screen.
Yeah.
Very DIY. I mean, we'd go to the craft store, we'd go to the thrift store, we'd buy a frame, like an old picture frame, not a silk screening frame. I mean, we could have upgraded, but it just didn't even occur to us. And then we would go get the silk from the art supply store and the ink or anything else we need, photo emulsion. And then we would go to the copy store and we would show up with like vellum paper and convince them to print on the vellum paper the design. And then we would take that back and flood the screen with photo emulsion. And then we would put that over there and we put a piece, like a loose piece of glass over it. And then we would bake that photo emulsion with a projector, like the round photo projectors that would display the little square
negatives,
blocks of film, whatever those were called. Like old school projector that we had picked up at some thrift store, and we would burn the screen that way. And then once it sat there and locked in everywhere that the black was not, all the negative space, then you take that and you wash the uncooked photo emulsion out and you're left with your print area.
Yeah.
Well, because this was very unprofessional and very uncertain, sometimes it would take 2 or 3 tries to get a screen, and it would literally just take us like 2 or 3 nights.
Yeah.
And if we even considered having like $100 budget to do this, we could have gone to like a silk screener and had them make the screen for us even. But it didn't occur. And then would sit and silkscreen our own shirts that way, or we would have them sometimes printed professionally. And I think the most we ever charged for shirt was like $10. I'm pretty sure it was always $5, but I think once we went to like the professional ones, it was like, it was like $8 or something.
Yeah.
Like they cost us $6 to print, and then it was like $8.
When we started doing screen printed stuff, I don't know if you remember this. We actually had a Udo machine. Yeah, which was like a home screen printing machine you could use. And Canyon
we were at the first Craft Lake City event,
and Canyon,
a million years ago,
and our old pal Wade worked up some designs. I think Canyon's sister helped, and they did like a eagle clutching a banjo, and they did like some that just said Folk Hogan, and then they did some that
on the knuckles.
Had like, they did, I forgot. There's a super rare shirt out there that it was 2 fists that said Folk Hogan, and obviously one of the hands had like a bunch of extra knuckles. And we had those for a little bit.
We could have AI generate that. It's really good at adding extra fingers.
Boo. And then
yeah, probably not.
And then we finally, at the end of 2011, we actually got like pro screen printed stuff. We got our old banjo player Box, an artist in Salt Lake, did a quick little drawing of a box dressed as a unicorn and flipping the bird and holding a banjo. And so we printed that on like a couple shirts and a couple hoodies, and we had those for sale. And that first run was like pullover hoodies too, which I think is the only time we've done that. Yeah. And I think other than that, at that time, like we didn't have any. I think we still had a couple of our demo albums, Flight Training. I think we still had that available.
When? I feel like we did maybe 2
like
or 3 rounds of shirts before we printed CDs.
Wouldn't surprise me.
And stickers. We did the original square white accordion stickers, the white, black and white accordion stickers.
I use one of I have a few of those. I still have a few of those.
That's so crazy.
And I use one as my bookmark.
Yeah, at one point I went through my archive, and I just like, I had stacks of like 20 stickers here, 20 stickers here, 20 stickers here, and I like distributed them out to everyone in the band.
Yeah.
Like, here's a bag of like the last 15 years of stickers.
Yeah. Yet Jared and I, like, when those accordion stickers came out, we went around Salt Lake late at night and just stuck them in random places.
Yeah.
And there was one that was on the street sign outside of Canyon's apartment up until like a couple of years ago.
Damn.
Like it was like super washed away. You could hardly see it, but it was still there. And there was one on a sign on State Street that was there for a really long time. But yeah, we did a lot of stickers back then. And then, you know, things started to get wacky. By the time like 2012 rolled around, Nick has always been the brain behind our crazy merch stuff. And so most of the crazy ideas that we have had have come out of his brain.
Yeah.
So,
well, because the thing with Die Panda Die is we were all really young, we were all really broke, and I was always the one pushing, and everybody else was like, yeah, I don't know. I was like, you guys, like, we went all the way to Portland to record this album. Like, I've worn out 3
CD drives,
burning CDs. Let's just print an actual CD this time. They're like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that costs money. And like, it costs the same amount of money to burn hundreds of them as it does to, like, we're not, you know, a CD to have a CD professionally printed was like 70 cents back then.
Right.
So anyway, I finally convinced them to do that, but only kind of, and it ended up being like a split with another band so that we could afford the cost of it.
Right.
So stupid. But so anyways, I was coming off of being the one that was always pushing to like do things more legit.
Yeah.
Like, let's get things professionally made, and like, let's get out of the like backyard spray paint era of
Yeah.
our lives.
Yeah.
And so coming into this band, originally everyone that had been in this band had been in another band and been somewhat of the driving force of that band.
Yeah.
Jeremy had been that way. You had been that way. Canyon had been that way. You know, even Jared had been around, you know, other, and, you know, Tanner had been the leader of many bands,
Yeah.
and Jared had been, you know, like the
done all
leader of
sorts of
different
stuff, yeah.
projects and things like that, or the driving force.
Yeah.
And so that's why we had the early on success and momentum, is like we had, instead of having the one person that does that and everybody else in the room that's like, yeah, it'd be easier if we just sat here and didn't.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
were all that person.
Yeah.
And that's my perspective of it.
Yeah.
And that's why we were able to like take some of those ideas.
I mean, we've always had, even from the like pretty early days, we've always had like a crazy merch setup. Like, we've always just had a ton of options, stickers and magnets and buttons and shirts and hoodies and just like anything we could think of. And a lot of them were just like born out of like the creative idea. There was that old hoodie that we made ages ago that was it was an accordion on the front, just like across the front of the hoodie. And like, it was clever because like you could put your hands on it and then pretend you were playing the accordion. Just, you know, as the years went on, like we continued to just have silly ideas. Like there may be people out there that remember this. When we did the album release for the show, we did lunch boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we sold like lunchbox packs. There was like a lunchbox with a shirt and a CD and stickers.
Yeah.
And
Well,
like,
we pre-sold them, and we limited it to 25.
Yeah.
So they were all gone by the day of the show.
Yeah.
We went to the show with like 7 of them left.
yeah.
And they'd all otherwise been purchased.
Yeah. That was a fun idea. Like, I know even from like the early days of the band, we were always joking of like, it'd be hilarious to make like dildos or butt plugs.
Yeah.
Which we eventually did. In 2020, we got the butt plugs made, which happened because my girlfriend knew a guy that ran a company that primarily makes like jewelry, like plugs for gauged ears and septum rings out of stone and whatnot. But he also made butt plugs that he would put like the fine gems in the back and sell those. And I mentioned to her like, the band's always joked about this, and she was like, I know a guy who makes those. And I was like, give me that guy's number right now.
Yeah.
And so we ordered a bunch of them, and you know, I don't know if we really ever thought people would buy them. It was just kind of a funny thing to do.
It was just like we've got to do this.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of felt like some people will buy it because it's funny, but that'll be it. And now we understand that like there's so much more value to those butt plugs than just about anything else we've ever done, because it's not just a funny thing. It's also like, if we're playing a show, we can say, hey, we have butt plugs for sale at the merch booth.
Yeah.
And people that had no plan to go to the merch booth are now going to go over just to see if you actually have butt plugs. And when they see it, they're like, can I pick it up? Like, I got to know, is this real?
Just instantly that morbid curiosity part of the brain is activated.
Yeah. They're hilarious. And so people always go over and look, and then maybe they're more inclined to support us in some way by picking up a hat or whatnot. But like, it is absolutely hilarious. We did have a butt plug stolen from us when we played in Germany.
It's so strange.
Someone stole a butt plug from the merch booth.
It's so unusual and rare for a band to have merch stolen from us.
Yeah.
That isn't, excluding like, a band member that's going to take one and give one to somebody that they know.
Yeah.
And not write it down. Like the actual like loss, is so unusual.
Yeah. Yeah, it was hilarious, man. The idea, I was like, I should have been upset that someone stole a butt plug from our merch table, but I thought it was hilarious. So I couldn't even be mad because I thought it was funny.
It's such a weird, because they stole the smallest size. We had 3 sizes at the time.
Yeah.
So we're like, you're really a fucking coward.
Yeah. Side story. Speaking of coward Germany, the first time we went to Germany and we played at Cowboy and Indiana on the Reeperbahn in Hamburg, like 2 doors down, there is a sex store that sells like sex toys and pornography and whatnot. And, we have to be around the venue for hours and hours and hours and hours. And so like we walk around, we check things out. That's just normal. And so we go in there and we're looking around, and this place is enormous. It's like probably 20,000 square feet, and it's 2 levels, and it's just
with an escalator the size of a mall.
It's remarkable. And they had this glass case up front with a bunch of crazy toys in it. And there was one that was like this craggy rock looking thing that was probably like, 14 inches around. And then there was like a giant fist that came out of it. And I was like, we should buy this and we should put it on the hood of the van so that it's just like flapping in the wind in front of us. And we laughed about that for years. And then 2 tours ago, when we went back to Germany, we were playing at Cowboy and Indiana again. We were like, we should do it. We should go buy it. So we walked over, the whole band, and we like walk up to the case, and we're looking at the case, and we were discussing. They had another fist that was like this teeny tiny little fist with a suction cup on it. It's like maybe 5 inches tall. It's itty bitty. And so we're like, oh, we should totally get one of these and put it on the van. And so it was like, all right, let's actually do this. Let's allocate some money to this. So I go up to the front and I grab the guy and I'm like, we need to get something out of the case. And he comes over and there's 6 grown men standing around this glass case. And he's like, what do you want? And we're all looking at each other like, well, which one of these should we get? The gigantic one or the tiny one? And we all kind of vote on it, and we go with we're like, yeah, we'll take that little one. And he looks at us and he goes, cowards, and then opens it up and then sells us this tiny little fist. And we had a blast, like sticking it in odd places just to mess with each other. And last year they were restocking the drink machine here at the band space, which has like a display in the front where it's holding like cans or bottles of drinks that are for sale. And they had that open, and we went over and put the fist in it. So the fist is actually in a vending machine at our band space, and I think it's listed for $50. So if you want the Folk Hogan Coward Germany fist, just head over to Space Invaders and you can buy it for yourself. Maybe that should be the next merch thing. It's just a tiny fist. But yeah, what else have we done that's been wacky? We've done so many weird things. Shoes is pretty crazy.
Shoes.
Doing shoes has been pretty crazy.
We have like these knockoff Doc Marten boots, like an 8-eye. We have knockoff slip-on Vans and Converse All-Stars.
Yeah.
That all are printed on every side with Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. They're
And
pretty
they've got
awesome.
like artwork from different stuff.
They're pretty awesome. I wish that like a lot of people that aren't in bands may not understand like the difficulty of ordering merch sizes, because it's like you're kind of guessing like, oh, how many people that are women that wear a size medium do I think are going to buy this design in the next 6 months? Like it's a really difficult thing off the bat like that to figure out how many of something you should order. By now we have a pretty good idea of like what sizes sell best. But that is ramped up to 100 when it comes to shoes, because it's like there's so many sizes that like we still have some shoes left over from when we did that run of shoes, because like and I see people all the time pick them up and go like, oh, these are awesome, I want these. What sizes do you have? And like, well, now we only have like 2 sizes, so
we
not a lot of options.
Yeah, I think the merchant. My feedback about it was that the merchant that sold the shoes could have provided better information, because once they showed up and you look at the side of the box, when I was ordering them, it was like women's, men's, size this, and this. And it's like, okay, well, I have a pretty good idea of what size feet most women and men have, what common sizes are. So I ordered a size run of all 3.
Yeah.
Well, then they show up and it's like, this is men's 8, women's 9. I'm like, man, we could have ordered half as many.
Yeah.
If we had that little bit of data.
Yeah.
And, it's very easy to restock and track because they're being printed one-offs anyways.
Right. Yeah.
With this particular vendor. So, I don't know. But
they're awesome though. Like I've gotten
probably
such a
not
kick
something
out of
we're
that.
going to make again, but really cool.
Yeah, I've gotten such a kick out of that, like seeing people show up to a show randomly and being like, you guys have shoes for sale? Oh, I like those shoes, I'm going to buy those shoes. And then like changing into their new shoes at a bar. Like it's just so not the normal thing that you'd expect to happen. Yeah,
my girlfriend showed up to like our not snow basin, not Snowbird, Brighton.
Yeah.
I was going to have to go through like 6 more ski resorts to get there. Alta, Solitude, Brighton. She showed up to our Brighton show in the summer and saw some little tiny Doc Martens her size and was just like, yep.
Yeah.
And just did that exact thing that you just explained. Took her shoes off, pulled those out. Well, a couple months go by, and I forgot that she even got them. I was like very drunk that day, by the way. A problem.
That's the day you hung your guitar from the rafter and then couldn't get it back down.
Well, I was trying to get it back down.
Yeah.
And the state in which I was doing it caused concern.
It's true. It's true. Stacking merch bins as a ladder.
And
not OSHA approved.
Yeah. Like I weigh like 250 pounds and I put a plastic tote on the ground, stood up on it, and hung my guitar from the rafter above on a hook, and then grabbed my other guitar and played it for a few songs. And then I decided I wanted that guitar back and tried to do that in reverse. And the bin wasn't ready.
Yeah.
The bin it was rated for one stand.
Yeah, it was taxed already.
But anyways, so a few months later, she's like going to come out to a Hulk Hogan show and trying to decide what to wear. And so she throws a Hulk Hogan shirt on. She throws the boots on. She pulls a Hulk Hogan hoodie out. And then puts her Hulk Hogan vest above that.
Hell yeah. In her duds.
And it was just like, head. Yeah.
Also known as the Hulk Hogan tuxedo.
The Hulk Hogan tuxedo.
Yeah.
I mean, we have made underpants.
Yep. We've made underhats. We've made leggings.
We've made leggings.
We've made a backpack.
We made a backpack,
We've
a fanny
made hats,
pack,
fanny packs. I mean,
tote
socks.
bags.
Socks are kind of the only thing. Did we do socks? I don't think so. That's the only thing we haven't done.
I don't think I've like actually ordered them.
Yeah. I think that's the only thing we haven't done.
Yeah.
That's wearable. Butt plug, obviously.
There's probably been some sort of there's a bracelet. There was like a nylon rope, like tactical bracelet.
Yep. Jared made those. Yeah.
Buttons.
Patches.
Patches.
Yep.
Vests.
The
beanies.
The first patch we ever did was like a little black patch that had an F and an H on it. And those went on they went on like beanies.
Oh no.
And
trauma.
Yeah. And then we moved over to trucker hats. And we made the folk fucking Hogan hat, which sold when when those showed up, I was like, nobody's gonna buy that. I was like so shocked to see how well those sold. Not the red ones. The red ones stuck around.
Yeah.
Gee, I wonder why. And that hat, I've like seen a couple of them in the wild and just been like, whoa, that's crazy. It is still weird. Even though we've been in this band for so long, it's still weird to show up somewhere and see someone in your merch. Just like, whoa, that's me. That's mine.
Especially after we started doing outerwear like hoodies and the vests.
The vests, yeah.
A hoodie is something that gets worn a lot. It might be in rotation. You might just be like me that wears the same hoodie every day like a cartoon character.
Yeah.
Until the hoodie blows out and dies.
Same.
With that, somebody like from Salt Lake moved to Portland. They're smoking a cigarette on their new front porch, and another person that used to live in Salt Lake walks by in a Hulk Hogan hoodie, and they're like, Hulk Hogan!
Yeah.
And they're both sitting there going like, what, seriously?
Yeah. Small world. Small world.
Yeah. And they both actually knew who the band was. Yeah. Unlike when we went to Hulk Hogan and the most Portland hipster thing ever in the world happened to me, where I was like outside and this couple walked by, and this dude was the world's biggest cheese dick, and he looked over and he went, "Oh, the Hulk Hogan van," and he kept walking.
Yeah,
had no clue who Hulk Hogan was.
Yeah, one of my favorite weird things like that is
so weird.
When we were last year, when we did Europe, my girlfriend and I stayed like several days later than the rest of the band, and we were standing in the airport flying back, just her and I, like waiting to board in the Netherlands, and I'm wearing my Hulk Hogan vest, and this guy comes up and he's like, "Hey, I saw your vest. I love Hulk Hogan. I saw them open for Reverend Horton Heat.
Yeah,
I love that band." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." And then he like looked at me closer and he was like,
"Wait a minute.
Wait, you're the singer?" I was like, "Yep." And he was like, "What are you doing over here?" Like, "Playing shows." "What are you doing over here?" "Not coming to shows. I didn't see you once."
Yeah. Right when COVID first happened, I had to like brave the outdoors and go to the grocery store and follow whatever procedure we were trying that week.
Yeah.
Or day or hour. And it was just such a depressing time, and I just remember being so bummed out, and I'm walking out the store and somebody goes, "Hey, Hulk Hogan, are they still a band?"
Like, well, in this world, who knows?
And I was just like, oh,
yeah.
Are we?
Yeah. My favorite, "Hey, Hulk Hogan."
So we hadn't gotten together in like months at this point.
My favorite "Hey, Hulk Hogan" moment of all time, it was in probably like 2012, 2013. We had played a show somewhere in Salt Lake, and I went to Canyon's house afterwards, and I had sufficiently imbibed a number of alcoholic beverages. And I was longboarding home. I lived in Liberty Wells down by Sugar House, and I was on 5th East, like longboarding in the middle of the road. And I like came up to a light, and the light turned red, and so I stopped, and a car went through the intersection, and they had their windows down, and someone in the back seat at 3:00 in the morning leaned out and just went, "Holy shit, Hulk Hogan!" I was just like, "This is weird. This is a weird life to live." But it's nice though. We're always happy to chat with fans.
So people have bonded over this merch item. I mean, the whole experience of going to a concert, and I got birthday tickets to go see Manchester Orchestra a number of years ago, and I went, and it was a huge show at the Complex. Well, for me, that is a huge show. I don't like 1,000 cap plus rooms.
Yeah.
I kind of have a limit. I would rather go see 10 mixed bill local band shows than go see one like 80s, like washed out 40, 50, 160, $400 concert or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's just me. I mean, there's some things that are really fascinating about going and seeing those big acts, but I'd rather go to 10 other shows and go meet some bands that are up and coming, because, up and coming bands often work a lot harder and put a lot more energy into things, and you're going to find some gems in there.
Yeah.
But before I distracted myself and got lost on my point, the whole experience. So anyways, we go to the Complex. It's my birthday. By the time that I've stood on the concrete floor there for like 2 or 3 hours,
Yeah.
and the openers played, and Manchester Orchestra is kind of on the fringe of what I listen to, so other bands that sound like that aren't going to be super appealing to me.
Yeah.
And the band that opened up for him was very Imagine Dragony, Neon Tree,
Yeah.
sparkly clean pop bullshit rock. And they finally get up there, and they're like played like half of the new album, and I'm enjoying myself, but I'm done. My feet hurt. I don't want to buy any more $9 beers. And so I'm like, oh wait, this is my birthday present. We got to do whatever I want to do. And I'm like, let's get out of here. Let's go hit the merch booth. And I pick up like a really cool hoodie that I'm pretty sure I left at Ace's High Saloon. Katie, if you're listening to this, will you look in the back corner for it? It's been in 2 years, but I think I know exactly where it's at. And it's a really cool shirt. And so it's like the memory of that every time I wear that shirt.
Yeah.
Or that hoodie, or think about that I lost that hoodie. It's all tied together to all these, they're silly items, but they're things that are fun to kind of relate back to your experiences with. And you get to have a conversation every once in a while about like, hey, what's your shirt? What's that about? What's a Hulk Hogan? That's a funny thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I've got a lot of like band shirts from shows that it very much is that every time I pull them out, I think about the show I got them at and how awesome it was.
And I think we kind of hit on accidentally a little bit about the idea that CDs used to be a really, really the first thing that you bought.
Yeah.
And as CD players have gone away and people don't really connect to whatever current version of an MP3 player that's on shuffle in the background or whatever, Spotify, iTunes, whatever music place, the different Walmarts of the internet that are paying fractions of a penny, they look for different items now. I mean, it used to be you go to the show, you buy the CD, you take it home and validate the experience. You
Yeah.
go, okay, well, I'm going to listen to this record now and see if that actually connects with what happened.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. The album absolutely sucks.
Yeah.
They're just good live.
Yeah.
Or this is so much better. Now I understand what they were pulling off.
Yeah.
Like maybe I didn't hear all of these textures, and now I'm able to hear the really polished version. It just really validates the experience. And then you would come back and buy a shirt or a hoodie or whatever. Well, that whole culture flipped on us and it changed, and we've had to change what we offer. And that's part of the reason we offer so much other stuff outside of music, because we used to have shows where we would sell 30, 40 CDs.
Yeah.
I can't think of the last time we sold a CD.
It's not often. It's not often.
We
sell them in Europe.
Yeah.
We sell them more in Europe.
And less and less every time we go.
Yeah.
And so, even that's kind of trending in the same direction. And vinyl's been a really weird anomaly because, when we were growing up in the 90s, people were throwing away vinyl and they were offering it at garage sales for 25 cents.
Yeah.
And it's come full circle to where people want a tangible thing again. But, there was just an article that came out at the beginning of the year, the end of last year, that said that 50% of people that are buying records don't own a record player.
Yeah.
And we constantly have this conversation with people. They're like, oh, yeah. I mean, those are like my items that I buy to support a band because that's what they're producing.
Yeah.
And at some point, I'm going to go get a record player and listen back to all these cool concerts that I went to.
Yeah.
In that form.
Yeah, I get that.
But otherwise I have this tangible physical thing that reminds me to listen to. I mean, I've seen people build record walls where they put a little NFC chip in the bottom and then they just program that URL to go to that thing, or hey, when I tap this with my phone, play it on my sound system.
Yeah.
And they're literally just like artwork. I mean, which is, it's cool.
Yeah.
For me, any part of that is cool because, I get it. And I've gone back and forth between digital and tangible for years.
Yeah. Well, that buying, I think most, if not everyone, understands that buying merch from a band is the best way you can support them. Aside from coming to a show, but we've played shows with other bands where I may not have even liked the band, but I'm gonna buy something from their merch booth. I've gone to shows where I didn't particularly like the bands, but I'm gonna buy something from them because it's I understand what it's like. It's hard. And it means something to you to have someone buy your merch. It's just it is special and it feels good. It's a validation. The amount of hard work that goes into being in a band can sometimes feel from an outward way not it's very validating. You get your own validation from making the songs and recording them and playing them, but to find out that other people also happen to like your songs is kind of a weird thing. And when someone buys merch, it's the dollar amount is secondary for us. It's just so awesome to see that people want to support us and appreciate what we do, and maybe even they like our songs. And I was going through a bunch of my hats recently because being in a band and having played so many shows with other bands where I've bought their merch, I got to a point where I had so many band shirts that it was if I didn't do shirt laundry, I could probably go a couple of months, if not 3 months, without having to worry about doing shirt laundry because I have so many band shirts. So I have forbidden myself.
And that's without even flipping them the second time.
It's not even turning them inside out. I've completely banned myself from being able to buy shirts from bands. And so then it was like, well, I'll buy hats. I'll buy hats from bands. And then I started buying hats from bands. And now I've got like same problem with hats. And so it's always just like anything I see at a merch table that's like not a shirt or a hat, I'm like, okay, that's what I'm buying because that's how I'm going to support this band. Like, you know, and the hoodie is always like almost always the most expensive thing at the merch booth. But now I'm at the point where it's like, I just got to buy hoodies. But in this economy, that's not sustainable.
It's
like,
expensive.
Although I will say I did buy an Acid Hologram hoodie.
Oh, it's a good one too.
When we played at merch and when we played at Aces High with them. And for the Prickagonda radio anniversary. And it was not just a good design, but it's also a really nice hoodie. Like there's not enough said about that. Back in the day, like, you know, 15, 20 years ago, so many bands were printing on Giljan shirts and they were terrible back then.
Yeah.
They were these like square, it was a square with a head hole and armholes and like they didn't fit anyone. They didn't look good on anybody. But
that was like,
but it was
they had like
standard.
an 80% market share, basically.
That was the standard. And thankfully, you know, we've always tried really hard to buy like nicer shirts that are more comfortable for people. But
that was some of the earliest feedback that we got was like, oh, I would only buy a shirt if it was next level apparel. Was like one of the things that we heard when we first started selling shirts.
Yeah. And so we started printing on them.
Because people had really latched onto that like soft fitted t-shirt. That was like really the style at the time.
Yeah.
A lot of vendors now. And then every brand has a version of that. And then later Gildan bought American Apparel. So now I actually, one of the most common ones that we print, it's come full circle, and now we print on Gildan again because
they're actually quality.
They actually make good shirts again. But it took them like 20 years in the interim to catch up. Now, you know, it really varies in culture and in genre and all that stuff, but there's a lot of interesting styles. I mean, like, you know, we've got a whole generation that just went through high school on a computer and has lived their whole life on the internet even more than us. And it's wild to see what the younger ages are interested in.
Yeah.
You know,
everybody loves butt plugs though.
Everyone.
That's what we found. Doesn't matter the
universal.
age group.
Buy one for your grandma.
Well, we have the album release show coming up soon.
Yeah.
We've got a bunch of cool new designs for that. I'm excited for that.
Oof. You better hope you bought your ticket already. By the time this podcast makes it to the airwave.
Yeah.
Or wherever you download your podcast.
Yep. We allocated tickets to each person in the band, and I'm about halfway through all my tickets. So,
dang.
So they're not sticking around for very long.
Yeah.
So
we say this every podcast, but we are really aiming to have that show sold out.
Yeah. We've had the last two sold out, so there's no reason to believe we can't. But yeah, thanks for listening to us talk about the wild world of Folk Hogan merch. If you have a suggestion for Folk Hogan merch, just email band@folkhogan.com and tell us what merch you think we should make. So, and we'll consider it. We have made butt plugs, so
we've made it all
pretty much, except
made
socks.
Mouse pads.
Yeah. We gotta make it. We gotta make socks.
Beach towels.
We've made beach towels. I forgot
coffee
about
mugs.
That. Coffee mugs. Oh, I gotta tell the coffee mug story real quick. So, we wanted a coffee mug that said "whiskey for breakfast," and Nick did a design, and as he always does, he sent it to the rest of the band. We all looked at it, and we all were like, yeah, this is great. And Nick was like, cool, and gave the approval to the company to make them. And then they showed up.
No, caught the typo.
There was a typo. Nick
sent updated artwork.
Yeah, sent updated artwork, and they used the old artwork. So if you have a Whiskey for Breakfast mug, you may have noticed it says Wixie for Breakfast.
Oh.
And I actually love it. It actually kind of fits. It makes me happy. But those are rare. Oh, flasks. We used to do so many flasks. All right, well, we love you guys. Big ol' smooches for you. And
I already played that.
Come on out to the album release show April 12th at Metro. Hit any of us up and we will sell you a ticket. Bye.
Bye.